Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the drama around Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and now we're going to talk about women's MMA. We have two things to talk about in this segment. First, we're diving into a bizarre MMA showdown that went down in Romania this week, and then we're going to talk about Kayla Harrison claiming that she will be the best UFC fighter. Before we get into all of this and the MMA showdown in Romania, I wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show and to become a part of our show to tip and donate using the link gsmcpodcast.net. This also puts your questions at the top of the list so that I see them and they get read on the air. Also, it really does help the show, and we really appreciate all of your support. And make sure you guys stay till the end of today's episode to hear about a mock draft for the PWHL. Now, let's begin. Okay, guys, so this is an interesting topic here. The weirdest MMA fight in Romania was videoed and went viral all over social media. Fans were very much baffled and concerned by the video. So the fight took place this week where one male fighter was against two women fighters inside the octagon. I was searching everywhere and I literally could not find the name of these fighters, so I sincerely apologize for not having the name of these fighters, but if you search up Romania fight 1 male v 2 females, I'm sure you can find the video. I also want to apologize for how blurry these photos are. Unfortunately, this was the best that I could do. So, the man is much larger than both the females. He isn't very muscular in tone, but rather more on the heavier side, if that makes sense. The women fighters look very fit and toned, but they are much smaller, especially in height, than the man. Let's talk about how the fight went down. To begin with, the female fighters attempted to attack the man from either side, but he fought back and held his ground, knocking one of them to the floor. As he knocked the one down, the other female hit him from behind, but the man chased after her before she tumbled to the floor too. The male fighter managed to strike more blows as he enjoyed the better of the fight. Midway through, there was a standoff as all three attempted to get their breath back. The two females then launched a second attack, again from either side, but the man dealt with their blows and struck several of his own. The trio ended up in a tangle as the man repeatedly hit one of them while he was struck from behind by the other, but appeared unaffected. The second woman was then chased and knocked to the ground again before the clip of the fight ended with another standoff as the man leaned back on the octagon perimeter. A lot of fans and viewers took to social media to express their views on this bizarre fight. So here are some of the interesting quotes from social media accounts. 1, this definitely needs to be a new sport. 2, is that just a random man or a trained one? And 3, this is actually comedy. Specifically on Twitter or X, there were a lot of comments made of people saying this wasn't very fair or right. Some of the comments were, "Who thought this was a good idea? Romania is something else. This seems wrong. 5 still wouldn't have fared better against him. And this isn't even entertaining." I agree with those comments from Twitter. Watching this fight, I was super uncomfortable. I understand the concept of mixed MMA fights and when they are done right and the competition is appropriately and evenly matched, it's a great fight. But when you have something like this fight that was completely bizarre in the sense that this man was just twice the size of both the women and the fight was just more disorganized than a regular MMA fight that you typically see, I don't think it was very fair for these two women to go against this man that was much larger than them. He had a huge advantage right away from the start, and this doesn't show off their skill and give them an even playing field at all. There also wasn't much, I guess, form in a sense. It just seemed like 3 people just randomly fighting with each other. It was very bizarre. Also, you can't forget to mention that when it comes to mixed MMA fights, it has to be an even playing field because this can get very dangerous when they are not even playing fields. This just seems very strange, but also really dumb to have a fight like this, if I'm being completely honest. Diving deeper into this crazy MMA showdown in Romania, I gotta say it wasn't just the matchup that got people talking. The whole setup seemed something out of a bizarre alternate reality show rather than a professional fight. Now, thinking about the fight tactics, these ladies were really trying to work together, coordinating their attacks to try and take advantage of their numbers, but it was clear they were outmatched physically. It kind of played out like some kind of chaotic dance rather than a strategic battle. You've got to wonder about the rules and regulations that allowed this matchup to happen in the first place. Like, who approved of this? There is something fundamentally off when the weight and size differences are that noticeable. It raises a bunch of questions about the safety standards and what the organizers were thinking. Now, let's not ignore the athleticism of these fighters, especially the women. I want to just point that out. They showed guts stepping into the ring under such odd and challenging conditions. However, this kind of spectacle doesn't really prove anything in terms of skill or sport, I'll say. It's more of a curiosity, like something you might see and say, did that really happen? Moving forward, I hope the folks running these events take a step back and consider the implications of such matchups. It's crucial to maintain the integrity and safety of the sport, ensuring that all matchups are fair, safe, and respectful to the athlete's skills and well-being. I do recommend watching this fight, but I will be very honest, I was uncomfortable watching it. I was just like, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, watch it for the experience, I'll say. Now we're gonna switch into another topic about women's MMA. Kayla Harrison. She believes she will go down as the greatest female fighter of all time. That's a pretty big promise to make for yourself. After blasting through the competition under the PFL banner for years, Harrison made her UFC debut at the promotion's landmark event in April, scoring a second-round submission victory over former bantamweight title holder Holly Holm. The victory immediately thrust the two-time Olympic gold medalist into the division's top 10, occupying the number 6 slot and putting her in position to challenge for the 135-pound crown. Thus far, no announcements have been made regarding Harrison's sophomore appearance inside the octagon, but if she gets her wish, it'll be for a shiny new UFC belt. However, that's only part one of Harrison's two-part plan to become the GOAT of women's MMA. Specifically, Harrison said, I'm going to go win the UFC title, lure Amanda Nunes back, beat the beep out of Amanda, and then I'm going to be the greatest of all time. Sorry, I had to say beep in the quote. She used some foul language that I'm not supposed to use on this channel, so I'm going to fill in those spots with me saying the word beep. Just a little FYI, because I'm going to say some other quotes that she has, and she does use some foul language in there. With wins over some of MMA's biggest stars, including Valentina Shevchenko, Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate, Chris Cyborg, Holly Holm, Juliana Pena, and current bantamweight champion Raquel Pennington, it's hard to argue against Nunes being the best fighter the sport has ever seen on the women's side of things. After claiming and defending both the bantamweight and featherweight belts, the Lioness laid down her gold and her gloves following a dominant defense against Irene Aldana in 2023, bringing an end to her 15-year-long career. However, Nunes has left the door open for a potential return. Last month, PFL found Don Davis threw some shade at his former star, calling Kayla Harrison a follower who needs validation, via a basketball analogy using NBA stars LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Responding to Davis's comments, Harrison reasonably snapped back, making it clear that while she takes pride in what she accomplished in the PFL, her goal from day one was to become a UFC champion. Harrison said, honestly, I'm living my best life. I take great pride in what I built at the PFL. I carried that company on my back for quite a while, and I've got big shoulders so I can handle it. I just don't have time for that beep. Every day I wake up, I get to go to the gym, I get to train with the people that I respect, admire, and look up to. I'm chasing a dream. When I started the MMA, the goal wasn't to make a beep ton of money. I'm so sorry, I just read that wrong. When I started the MMA, the goal wasn't to make a beep ton of money. That goal wasn't to be rich and famous. The goal was to be a UFC champion. That's why I'm here, and that's what I'm going to do. If anyone has a problem with it, they can go beep themselves. You guys can fill in what the beeps mean. Kayla Harrison's statement about becoming the greatest female fighter is bold, but she's got the chops and the attitude to back it up. Smashing through the competition and taking down names like Holly Holm right out of the gate in UFC just shows she's not here to mess around. She's eyeing that UFC belt and even aiming to pull Amanda Nunes out of retirement for a dream showdown. It's clear that Kayla Harrison is living her dream, unbothered by the critics, and focused solely on her path to greatness. This kind of fiery determination and focus is exactly what makes her such a compelling figure in MMA. she's not just fighting opponents, she's fighting expectations and doing it on her own terms, which I admire a lot. So, I mean, buckle up. Kayla Harrison's journey is only getting started here, and if her start is anything to go by, we're in for some incredible moments. Whether she'll reach that GOAT status she's so fiercely after, we'll just have to watch and see, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be a wild ride. I do really admire her confidence, and Someone was just mentioning the beep in the comments. Thank you guys for saying that you love the air quotes. I am very sorry for having to cross out those beeps there. But yeah, I appreciate Harrison's big confidence here. I think, especially with MMA, you have to be confident in order to be, the next GOAT and, be one of the best fighters out there. You really have to have that confidence. And I admire that at Kayla Harrison. It's going to be interesting to see this. It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure. Okay, we are now going to move into the next segment where we're going to talk about the most outstanding players in the Women's College World Series in the past 20 years. Before we begin, we are going to be taking a very short break, so I will see you guys very soon.